Ladies and gentlemen, a warm online welcome to the Europatat Congress 2021, on air, on time and online for the first time. In line with the topic of the day, stay connected, new strategies for the potato sector. I have the honor of joining you today as your moderator for the Congress, and we'll be together for the next 2 hours. And rest assured that we will be making up for what we lack in terms of networking with some great inspirational content. We will explore how digitalization is reshaping the potato sector and, even more importantly, how the potato sector is seizing the opportunities of digital. Because as I am sure everyone in this assembly is well aware, it is after all the potato that invented the chip and not Silicon Valley. And still today, I prefer to eat my chips rather than to have them placed under my skin or have them entering my body in any other way. We also have today a great participation with more than 140 people registered to view this online event today from a good range of countries extended also beyond the European Union. So a warm welcome to all the participants from around the world who are connecting with us today. In terms of audience interaction, you can use the Slido box to the right of the live streaming window. That's where you can place your comments, raise your questions, and I will be monitoring that tool. And I will also be launching the one or the other poll in order to get us started. So let's go for the first one. How do you like your potatoes? How do you like them cooked? Baked, boiled, steamed, fried, roasted? You pick your choice, and we'll be commenting on that as we go along. So I hope you will enjoy the next 2 hours. And to get us started, I have the pleasure of inviting Mr. Gilles Fontaine, the president of Europatat, to give his opening welcome speech. Gilles, over to you.
It's really a great honor for me to open this Congress with the theme of digitalization and under the slogan, stay connected, new strategies for the potato sector. For the record, and to be honest, this subject came to us, the board of Europatat, after the Oslo Congress and the innovation topic, and during the Potato Europe in Belgium, and it was 2 years ago, so it was before the pandemic. At this time, it occurred to us as an evidence in our strategic vision for Europatat and for our members. We are a trade organization. And connections, all kinds of connections, are our business, our mission, and our reason to exist. In our strategy process, we focus more and more on external expectations from our stakeholders. Of course, all our members, our close collaborators, the EU Commission, of course, the different European associations, organizations, the civil society in general, the growth, of course, the governmental and not governmental organizations. And for sure, this list is a non-exhaustive one. Sorry for that. And we need to develop strong interactions with all of them. That's very important. So the expectations are really rising very quickly, and it's really challenging. Definitively, at Europatat, we see digitalization not only as a tool. We see really digitalization as a way of working, as a way of thinking, and in fact, a way of acting every day. For sure, digitalization is not something for the future. Digitalization is something for now and for everyone, whatever the size of the company and whatever the size of the organization. I don't want to anticipate too much the presentations and the discussions we will have during 1 hour and a half. So then I wish you a very good Congress, and I take the opportunity to thank a lot in advance all the speakers for their presentation and for their contribution. So Jean-Paul, now the floor is yours, guy. Thank you in advance, and thank you all.
Thank you very much, Gilles, for these opening words, and hopefully this event will help you in your journey to take the most benefit that you can out of all these digital tools. And I think that's really the key role of our keynote speaker, who will be joining us now. Our sort of hors d'oeuvre, but also the main dish of the event, let's say. Omer Attica, he is keynote speaker, he is consultant, he is digital expert, and he will be talking about the potential business transformation of digitalization. So let me go and fetch Omer backstage.
Digital is so strange, you know. And actually, when I was a child, the future was different. Yeah, and somehow future is not what it used to be. Well, when I was born, that was the year when man walked on the moon. And that was impressive, though we thought, well, by the year 2000, we'll be living on the moon. We'll be living under the oceans. They promised us flying cars and hoverboards and maybe even total extinctions by robots. But all this didn't happen. So 50 years later, yeah, all we got is like smartphones, and we got social media, and that's okay, but what we got digital is mostly, yeah, well, we got computers who hang up, and we got the printers that jam, and our smartphones are, yeah, sometimes a pleasure, but sometimes a real pain. Yeah, you got no connection, you got your low battery, and things are difficult. So if that's the digital future, I'm a bit concerned. Well, until a year ago. Then we got the COVID crisis and everything went so digital. I mean, it was amazing. Now we could work from home and we could have video calls and everything. And that was like the future was coming, was forced into our lives. But actually, there wasn't so much new. I mean, Skype had been around for 10 years. And what happened is that we used new tools to do the same old things we already did. And that, in a way, is a pity. Okay, then we can now work from home, which means we don't have to dress up. We can stay in our sweatpants all day, and that's nice. And most recently, a friend asked me, Umar, do you iron your shirts on the backside? And I thought, oh, that's smart. Nobody sees that anyway, so maybe I just iron the front. And okay, that is a kind of progress, but for the rest, well, we're doing meetings, and I think that's one of the astonishing things about going digital. Everybody seems to have all days fully packed with meetings. We never had that many meetings before. Yeah, now we have slot and meeting, and everybody says, I don't want so many meetings, but everybody joins, and everybody starts working, late at night to get things done. So if that is progress, well, I doubt it. Things become difficult. And well, then I was asked, digitalization, can you talk about digital and the potato? And I thought, right, potato, digital. I mean, there's probably nothing on earth that is as non-digital as a potato. I mean, really, I feel like Hamlet. Can you be digital? To be digital or not to be digital? I mean, this is not digital. So where's the digital transformation in the potato? And that is a good question. I mean, let's have a look what transformation is about. Can we find a way to that? Well, let us start with what is digital transformation after all. I mean, everybody talks about it, but if I have an audience of 200 people, ask, have you heard of digital transformation? Everybody goes, yes. Do you know what it is? Everybody goes, probably. And if I ask, would anybody care to explain? They all go, you do this. I doubt. It's difficult. I heard of it with some computer, something, internet. So let's make it clear. Digital transformation is when we change an existing company. And we're not talking about startups or new ecosystems. We're talking about an existing company that needs to go digital. Yeah, well, what is a company? Yeah, well, it's a place where you get your salary and place in the warm to wait for the weekend. Nice. But what else is there? See, a company basically is an organization. That means people working together, which create value that they sell. That's important. Working together, creating value, and selling it. Now, digital transformation doesn't mean more than just working together in different ways, like we are now. We can do a conference online, even though I'm in the southern edge of Germany, the central is in Brussels, you're all over the world, and we can work together. Now, that's a part of digitalization. The main part is creating value. So can digital help us create value easier? Can we create more value? Can we create new value? And also, can we find ways to sell things differently? And that is what digital transformation is about. Well, there's one question left. Yeah, well, value. What is value actually? Now, it's not the same as price, but value is what we create. And value can be in one of three things. It could be a product, it can be the services, and we create value by the image that we show. So, I mean, product, yeah, well, we got the potato, and that's, yeah, not so digital. I think the only thing less digital than a potato might be a piece of rock. But okay, here. Services is everything we pay for. We give people our money so they supply internet access and the roads are burned and I get my meals delivered, whatever it is. We pay for service. And we also pay for image. Because if I'm having a watch on my wrist, it's a huge difference whether it's a cheap Casio or an expensive Rolex or Patek Philippe. Actually, it's always the same time on that watch, but the image is something we pay for. Okay, so how can we apply that? Well, yeah, doing a digital product of a potato is going to be difficult, but we can go into the services, and that's where the digital magic starts to happen. Well, it starts with growing. I mean, let's say at the turn of the last century, so at the beginning of the 20th century, we had like 40% of our population was working in agriculture. 40%. 4 of every 10 people work to supply food, and now we're down to less than 2%, and the food is more varied, more healthy, more abundant than ever. Now that's a big step forward. So my impression is what we used to have, like the farmer in his boots going out on the soil, now he's sitting behind a couple of monitors with a joystick in his hand, and the whole growing thing becomes more and more digital. We got the drones checking the field for health, for nutrition, for pests. We got the harvesting becoming more and more autonomous. So everything we do in growing is digital. And when we have the logistics, the supply chains, where do we go with everything? How do we trade? Also, this goes digital up until the end user. Yeah, like when I'm in McDonald's and I got the big touchscreen and I said, I want a portion of fries. Again, that's digital. It's the same potato still, but around it is digital services from beginning to the end. All thing, the image. So how's the image of the potato? It used to be like, wow, it's a potato. And you should hear my wife, she loves potatoes. We always have a discussion. We once in a while want to have some rice. So potato is fine, but it's not so exciting. Well, it was until we get into the age of the influencers. Because what we see now is something like that. Can you imagine? We now have images. This is art. This is almost food porn. Yeah, so nobody ever thought of the potato looking as good as that. So it starts that people begin to recognize again what kind of potatoes they have. When do I harvest? How do they taste? Where do they come from? They become interested. And when I go over to Instagram, well, it's full of potato images. And that's quite surprising. So I did a short count. Instagram, yeah, well, you usually only have influencers saying, "Oh, I'm here in Dubai. Look at me. Life is great." Yeah, we now have potatoes. And can you guess how many potato posts there are on Instagram right now? 4 million. 4 million. 4 million posts where people said the potato is important. Yeah? And I want to talk about it. I want to show that we can discuss. I mean, how do we build 4 million followers for our companies, for a superstar? That's amazing. For, again, the simple potato. So, yeah, there is something changing in how we perceive the potato. And the question how we use that, how we transform our companies, is mostly about where's the pain? Where's our pain as a company? Where's the pain of the employees? And where's the pain of the customer? How can we improve our value? And why is it so hard to change? Because that's the question I get asked often. Everybody tells me, you know, we would like to change, but in our company, in our market, in our branch, it's always so difficult. Well, rest assured, it's difficult for everybody. Everybody tells me, for us, it's especially difficult. No, everybody suffers. And that is because transformation is not that easy. We, as a company, we have something we call a trilemma. Trilemma is an expensive word. You can't know the dilemma, where you have two sides to decide. A trilemma is when you have three sides. So the trilemma of the company is, well, one is technology. Every month there's new technologies. We got the blockchain, we got artificial intelligence, we got image recognition, we got all that stuff. You have to look at it, you have to understand it, you have to evaluate it. What of this can we use? And are we ever going to earn money with that? So tech is the first. Second, of course, is money. When can we earn? Because transformation costs in the beginning. And that is a problem for successful companies. The success trap means you're so busy, so successful, yet you spend all your time making money, so you don't have the resources to do something else, like think of how you make money 5 years from now. And that can be a danger. So technology and money, which is hard enough, and then people. Well, we have done things in a certain way for tens and 20 of years. Why should we change? And that's difficult, because only when we change, we can transform our company. And that is pretty hard. Again, this has to do with the trilemma of our employees, the people who work for us, with us. What can I do? Why should they change? And that's important. And so for an employee, the question is threefold. We got the what, the how, the why. So the first is, yeah, what shall I do? Yeah, they say, oh, go and transform. Yeah, what exactly does that mean? Yeah, am I going to diddle around on my iPhone the whole day? Yeah, am I going to disrupt the market? And what actually does that mean? So what am I supposed to do differently? We often forget to tell people, yeah, be disruptive, be creative. Yeah, but how? So first, we have to tell them what they need to do. Secondly, we have to show them how. So somebody has a great idea. So, and then what? How do I build a prototype? How do I test that? How do you get touch in with customers? How do I make a product of that? How do I build a whatever business plan? So even if they're willing, they need to be able. And we forget that too. We say, go forth and be digital. No, we need to show them how to do that. And thirdly, probably most important is why? Why should they do things differently? We have to change our culture, that we recognize, okay, you're doing something differently, and that's good. And even though we know you might fail, we still encourage you. And if you fail, we're not going to criticize you, but see what have we learned and progress from there. So trilemma of the employees is, again, the what, the how, and the why. And actually, if you go into a company, you have something that I used to call the axis of engagement. Yeah, so no matter how large your company is, we got three parts. The first is like the people who say yes. You say digitally, they say yes. They don't ask why, they like it. On the other side, we have the people who say no. You hear digital, they say, I don't want that, so that's not. And in the middle, you have the larger part who say, well, probably, maybe, there could be something. And now, and if we look at that closely, we see the distribution. And that means we have like 15% who say, oh, yes. We have 15% who say, oh, no. And we have 60%, the remaining, who say, well, let's wait and see. Sorry? Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay. My colleague just pointed out there, we forgot 10%. Actually, the missing 10% are the people who are, again, on their mobile phones. They're playing Candy Crush, or I've seen it's a new trend. They try to reach the bottom of Facebook. Yeah, so they sit there and they swipe and they swipe and they swipe. And you can do a whole marathon. You can go for kilometers and miles on your smartphone, and you'll never reach the bottom. So these are there too. But again, engagement is something we have to work with. We start with the ones who say yes, and we build some examples to help those who say, well, let's wait, come over and say, this is actually working. And then we get the momentum that we need. Right, next thing is we need to go to, how would I call that? The new horizons. I think that's an important thing. And we always talk about, yeah, what are we doing? Most of the time, it's too much centered around what we already do. So a company can spend like 5 years on implementing a new CRM, customer relationship management, your client database. And you implement and you choose, and it's a lot of work, but your customers don't see it and don't feel it. That means it's not adding value. So why do you do that? You say, oh, I've been so busy being digital. Yes, but there's nothing that came out of it that made you in any way better from the point of view of your customers. And that's the only point that really cares. So how do we go to new horizons, and how do we get away from this myopic point of view? And well, I did something I call the digital circle, which sometimes could be a digital fried egg, because around the edges it gets a bit messy. But we always have in the center the things we already do. We're very good in improving those. That's nice. We improve what we do. We do it a bit faster, a bit easier, a bit cheaper. Nice. But we're not going to win the future with that. So the next stage, the second circle, is the one where we expand, where we say, okay, we can do this. What can we add? How can we go away from just supplying products to supplying a whole solution? And then, of course, there's the outer part, and that's the exploration. What else is out there? And I mean, a prime example that we all know about is Amazon. They started as a bookstore, online bookshop, very good, and they optimized until they were the definitely most efficient bookstore out there. They said, this is not enough. Let's see what else we can do. And they said, okay, we don't need to concentrate on books. Now we can sell everything. Which they do. And this is quite nice. And they also said, okay, what else is there? And they said, okay, now we know that we can sell everything. We can help other people sell everything. Now, if you go to Amazon, 30% of what they sell is from other people. They just do this, the fulfillment there. That's the Amazon Marketplace. And the third layer is when they decided, okay, what else do we know? What can we do with what we know? And they said, hey, we're really good at running data centers. And they decided we sell that. You can rent data centers from Amazon. That's called Amazon Web Services, which is, by the way, the largest cloud provider worldwide. Well, that's from a bookshop. So we need to be able to move. And another company that you all heard of, especially during the pandemic, is the one with the big red N. For Netflix, started out with renting DVDs. So they were a logistics company. And in the heydays, they sent out 1.5 million DVDs. And that's a process you need to optimize. But later, this internet thing came, and they said, what can we do there? They didn't change their mission. They still said, what we want to deliver is entertainment at the home. And what they've made is they said, okay, we can stream movies. For the customer, it feels almost the same. We get a movie on the screen. Nice. But in the back end, they moved from being a logistics provider to a streaming service. This is huge. And then they went even further and said, well, they said, well, we know so much about television consumption. We know our customers like nobody else does. We know what they watch, when they watch, in what time slot they do, when they stop, when they quit, when they switch. We know everything. So why don't we use that knowledge? Why are we still buying television dramas from around the world and presenting them? Why not do ourselves? And they moved again. So they were a logistics company, which became a streaming company, which is now a movie production studio. They become a movie studio. And that's amazing. Even Amazon did that. On Amazon Prime, you have some series, but not there. And can you imagine that? There was a bookshop which became a movie company. And that's thinking further. That's thinking about where is the value that we can deliver. And that's quite interesting. And if you now say, yeah, how do we get a culture of where this is possible? Well, one part of it is having fun. And one of my favorite examples is the Netflix socks. Have you heard of the Netflix socks? That's a very good thing. They look like this. You can make your own socks, yeah, with some motif of your favorite series. And then you build some Internet of Things, electronics in there. You see some of the parts there. Basically, it's a movement sensor and a little LED. Now, let's have a look. Let's see, you're Netflixing. There's the screen, you're on your couch, so mostly you have your feet up there below the screen. You're just gonna wiggle your feet and say hi there. That's what you see, screen and feet, and mostly in your socks. Now, a Netflix sock, that's an important thing, has this motion sensor. So if you stop moving your feet, there's a little light that goes on. And you can shake your foot and it goes off. So that's very good because it prevents thrombosis. Very important business rule, keep your customers from dying because dead customers can't pay. So a good thing here, but there's something else too. Because if the light goes on, the sensor assumes you're falling asleep. Because most of the time you're falling asleep, you have not died. But if you're sleeping, your sock stops the stream. You're never ever going to sleep through the next episode because your smart socks are basically smarter than yourself and stop your computer. And that's the future. That's where we go to. And so we can transform everything, even our television consumption, and even our socks. And if you want some more examples, yeah, we have that, of course. Like, for example, yeah, let's stay with socks. There's a secret about men wearing socks. Because in business context, you wear black socks, don't you? Like these, black socks. And when do you buy new socks? Yeah, do you go to the inner city shopping? Yeah, on Saturday to buy socks? No, you don't do that. You probably buy it online. It's all difficult. There's a Swiss company called Black Socks who solved it with a subscription. Yet you subscribe to a sock service, socks as a service, SaaS. That's important because now every 3 months you get a package of new socks. Yeah, 3, 6, 9 socks, how many you need? And they're all the same socks. So whenever one sock of you is gone, yeah, well, you put it away, you keep the others because they all match. Actually, what they managed to do is solve a problem you didn't even know you had. And that is very smart. Now, another thing I like is, again, from Amazon, I know, the Amazon Dash button. Because honestly, who really likes to shop online? That's not really fun. I mean, some find it, but mostly they say, okay, I need that stuff. Amazon invented one-click buying. You say, I want that, you click, you get it, fine. And now we have that button because I don't want to go online for that. I just see, oh, I need more cat food, more washing powder, whatever. You click it. I mean, there you can even program it for toilet paper. Yeah, I see the moment where you run out of toilet paper, you push the button and the drone comes into the window and says, here's your order. I'm a bit scared of that. But everything you need. You can see you printer ink and you got Red Bull and chips and beer and everything you need for a great weekend. And I know some of you are looking at that. There's Eurex too. Yeah, so of course, if you had a great weekend, you can order new condoms too. Yeah, just put it on your bedside table and it was a wild night. Click it. Comes a new one. You can keep on partying. Nice one. So think what the customer needs, not like I got a great web shop, but how can I eliminate the web shop and go straight to the point where they say, I want that. That's smart. Another last example is Byton. Byton, yeah, now in financial troubles, made a new electric car. And I love that. Because in our German car makers, there were all those small navigation screens. You paid like $2,000 to have some navigation that looks like an 8-bit Nintendo. Yeah, and they came and said, we do the whole thing as a screen. I mean, Tesla was with these 17-inch screens pretty large. This is more than a meter. This is 7 iPads next to each other. And you can see everything. And I thought, this is smart. And you can also use it to work. This is not only navigation. There's a console in the middle. You can see that there, where you can start your PowerPoint presentation. Actually, you can have a video call and have the people on the dashboard talk to them. Yeah, while sitting there. So there's a cue. You work from that. And I love that. There's some where you say, okay, I can think in different ways. I'm sorry to say, in Germany, the first comment was, oh, this is so unsafe. We need data protection. You must not drive. Of course, you won't drive that car while you're video conferencing. Still, there's a new idea. We have to make room in our heads for new ideas. And that's smart. So how do we go digital? A good question. Yeah. So what's our way forward here? I brought 5 points that help me and our clients to make that little step, shift their mind. Well, the first one is, well, do at your work as you do at home. Well, this is pretty impressive because at home, most of us are digital. No problem. We got the smartphones, we got smart TVs, many got smart homes, or I don't know, robots, whatever. Yeah, but at work they say, oh, no software, my goodness, I need a course and I need training and I need support, and how difficult. At home, we just start. So be ready, be prepared to be as digital at your work as you are at home. Important point. Change your mindset there. Second thing is, well, learn to listen to your customers. And that's also a difficult thing because you got all the experts in your company, right? So they know what the market needs. No, they know what's possible, but not what the market needs. What we need to change is listen far better to our customers, present ideas, and get the feedback to improve. Not like, we have this idea, that will take 3 years to develop, we roll it out, we'll find out that we thought our customers were there, which have changed, and they moved like to here the last 3 years. So you have developed in that direction and lost everything. No, you need to be small and agile to stay close to your customers. And that's a habit. Like, oh, I have a new idea. First thing I do is I call a client and ask how they think about it. Oh, that's unusual. I mean, I've talked to marketing departments. Have you seen a customer lately? Like, what? Customers? No. We do market research and we do poster campaigns and digital marketing and everything, but they have never seen a living, breathing customer. Same with sales even. I've been to a sales team of an airline. Customers? No, we don't do that. We sell indirectly, and that's not the point. You need to learn about the people who use your product and your service. Third one, very good point. Listen to the children. If you don't have your own, good for you, then rent some children, get them somewhere else, and see how they act and how they think. And be open to that. Yes, all this influencer thing is silliness. Yes, Instagram is strange. Yes, TikTok has a lot of short videos where everybody goes like this and they say, wow. Yes, but this is the future. Again, try to understand what they see, what they experience, and why it's worthwhile to them. The second thing we can learn from our children is they're uninhibited. They're not afraid. So there's something new. Yeah, well, they start pushing buttons and see what happens. And usually, if I have something new in my computer, I go like, click. Right. I do the next. Something like that. The kids go like, yeah, clack. Oh, look, it's good. That's the way. Be easy about it. Try things. Break things. Okay, go again. Now, fourth, think about creating value. And that can be everything that your customer perceives as value, and where every time this customer smiles and say, wow, that's important, that's value, and that you need to change. I mean, there was a small biological shop, and they had a problem during the lockdown that they had distance. It was very sunny last year, so people were queuing outside, and they said, oh, this is a pity. And well, they made just a WhatsApp group. You can bring in your orders, they prepare it, you pay. So they sped up the whole process by using WhatsApp. There's an existing tool. Everybody knows how to use that. They took it and improved the customer experience. That's also digital transformation. Digital transformation is using whatever is available in digital to give a better customer experience. It's not about, oh, I need a new software and I need a new program. This week, I spoke to the head of sales of a large company, 20,000 people. He said, yeah, well, we had a program there. We had 3 years, 20 programmers on that project. Yeah, and it came not off the ground. And later they said, let's start it. Another group started again, 3 people. They delivered results within 6 months. I thought, yes, because we tend to do things too big. Be small, be nimble. Yeah, like I said, well, we got this wonderful, great and big potato. Yeah, we can think this is like our existing company. Yeah, but we need the small ones. We need to have new things, new ideas, because from that, the new things are growing. So have both coexist. The thing we work with, the one where you grew no things. So, yeah, think of digital value. And last one, work together. Most of the people I speak to feel a bit lost. They say, oh, I need that, I would like to do that, but it's too hard, it's too difficult. Where do I get knowledge? Where do I get input? Yeah, work together. What works very well is tandem. Yeah, work with one other person and yeah, be supportive to each other. And then learn to work in teams. And also don't be afraid to work with people from other divisions, from other departments. Yeah, you're all part of the same organization. Learn to be transparent, share what you learn, yeah, and do it together. Never try to do it all alone. So, as goodies, as an end of that speech, I'll give you some examples about the future. Yes, how is our future going to look like? And well, everybody who has ever tried to predict the future has learned, well, it is pretty good. We start with a look backwards, like where do we came from? And now I have an image I'm going to show you in a second, and I can guarantee you everybody who smiles because they recognize what's on that picture has gray hair. I guarantee. Well, actually, it's not true for the ladies. Yeah, because for ladies, hair color is optional, but at least the gentlemen will have lots of gray hair because they have all seen this one. You remember that? And I have to explain things. So there's one person, oh yes, I know that. And there are younger people who sit at that and actually they go like, this is a strange emoji. What is that supposed to mean? And I have to explain to them, this is the first computer interface. This is how we learn to interact with machines. And they go like, oh my God, how horrible. Yes, it is. Because to them, computers now look like this. This is Echo, the smart speaker from Amazon, and inside of it, there lives Alexa. And actually, Alexa is the genie in the bottle. You don't even have to touch and rub that lamp. You just talk to it. You don't say abracadabra, you say Alexa. And there's everything in there. There's everything you wish for, travel, entertainment, even the connection to people, everything in that one magic lamp. As long as your credit card holds out, we have the wonders of the world come true. And that's impressive. And you can say, okay, what does it actually use for? Actually, we at home, we have some Alexa. It does playing the radio and telling stupid jokes. I mean, if you ever see an Alexa, Alexa, please tell a joke, and you get input like you wouldn't believe it. It's horrible. And you ask yourself, why does a trillion, billion, zillion dollar company like Amazon build a smart speaker who tells stupid jokes? Now that's the important part, because it makes them part of our lives. You sit at the table at dinner, you ask, oh, how many people do actually live in New York? And you get an answer. And you say, do tell a stupid joke. And they become part of our families. And that's important. That's not a computer anymore. They join our lives. And that's smart. And that's why the others joined. I mean, we have the second product was Google. They did thing. This is a bedside lamp. Yeah, you can probably put in some scented oils. You have a nice smell in your room. There's something very similar looking even from IKEA. IKEA makes smart speaker because it's part of our environment. Surprisingly, Apple was pretty late with their HomePod, yeah, because I mean they were first with the Siri, where voice recognition was becoming popular. Now we have this, and this is not a computer. This looks like something, yeah, as if a waste paper basket had, yeah, well, probably sex with an air filter. But this is a computer, and we have to use to talk to them. So the future means something like this. And if you're lucky, you're young and good looking, you have a young and good looking robot, and you talk to the machine. If you're a bit less lucky, like me, you're not so old and you're talking to an old robot, but still, that's the future. Machines become part of our lives more and more. Like 15 years ago, there weren't any smartphones. Yeah, there were mobile phones, but they were just a phone. And now there's nobody without a phone. I mean, if you see people not having a phone, they get nervous. Yeah, so like, oh, I'm fine, I'm doing digital detox. Yeah, 2 hours later, they're looking over your shoulder and say, oh, I just wanted to check. The funny thing is some Swiss artist did something on that. I really love that. Because as I said in the beginning, the only thing less digital than a potato is probably a rock. And that's what they did. Some Swiss artists built this here, if you can show it. This is the ice stone. This is a solid piece of rock. And this is wonderful because you'll never have to worry about your battery. You never have to worry about reception. You never have to worry that anybody is going to disturb you. No, you just have the phone. It feels good, but it doesn't get on your nerves. And that's excellent. It doesn't even break. You can sit on that. You never break your screen. Wonderful. This is a way to really detox. But this aside, we were talking about robots. Right, so robots like R2-D2, very nice. I was pretty happy to have met him. But we have also been told that robots look like this. Like there's the Terminator coming and they will exterminate us. They kill the whole of humanity. And if not, they will at least take away all our jobs. Oh, goodness me. Well, in reality, robots look like that. This is our future. This is a lawn mowing robot. It goes pretty nice with the garden gnomes in the background, does it? So this is the future. And actually, this is not going to kill us. And also, it's not something I mind. They can take my job of mowing the lawn. They can take my job of vacuuming the house. That's fun. And you look at them and say, this looks like a salad bowl who just ran away from a picnic. This is not world domination, and that's good. And the interesting part is that we start trying to humanize these machines. I show an image like this, and everybody goes like, oh, no, the poor thing. Yes, and if you got such a machine and it starts a bit of drizzle outside, they say, oh, bring it in, it's getting wet, the poor thing. And that's so amazing. There's nobody in there. There's just some motors, some sensors, nothing. Still, they become part of the family. And honestly, if I ask a room of 200 people, how many of them have robots? Probably like 10%. And then I ask how many of you gave them a name? And almost everybody does. The machines get names. And that's a bit silly, but that's reality. And that's quite interesting. If we want to look at the future of robots, we can look at Japan. There's something like the robot hotel, yeah, where we can check in at a hotel. You see that friendly young lady, which is actually an automated puppet. We can check in with her. I don't go to the robot hotel to check in with some dolly, so I can check in with the robot too. Here's now, I can check out in with him. And I can even check in, and that's the interesting part with the colleagues to the right. Now, that's something different. Let me have a closer look. Now, this is something. And the kids love that. And that's also a machine. They don't have to be rectangular. They're not gray. There's no blinking light. This is also digitalization. And you say, oh, this looks horrible. I say, yes, it does. But if I'm going into a hotel late at night somewhere in the countryside, yeah, something moves behind the reception, it looks exactly like that. Yeah? So yes, of course, we can automate that. And a good thing too. Nobody was born to have a job where you say, oh, good night, sir, here's your key. This is the breakfast from 7 to 9. We got better things to do with our lives. So I like the machine. And if you say, oh, okay, this one looked a bit mean, isn't there something nicer? I can say, of course there is. We got this one. Have a look at Paro. Paro is a little seal, and it's used to work with patients with dementia. And you can stroke it, and it reacts, and it moves, and it closes the eyes, and makes a little sound. And the people wake up. They interact with that. That is amazing. And I thought, is that okay? Are we allowed to do it? Is that a good thing? Yeah, because it's an electric pet. And they don't know that. And am I fooling them? Is this ethical correct? And I think yes, because there are 3 reasons to that. The first is, it works. So why shouldn't I do that? The second is the alternative. The alternative is not either I talk to the machine or I talk to the nice young lady helping me. No, it's either I talk to the machine or I stare at the wall the whole day. Because we don't have people enough in our healthcare system. So that's a good thing. And the third is, of course, the point of view of the pet. Now imagine you're a pet and your owner has dementia. So you get locked in the cupboard and forgotten for 2 weeks. I mean, 2 weeks in a cupboard as a pet. You'll be furious and very angry. You'll be very smelly, and you'll probably be very dead. Now, what do you do if you forgot the robot for 2 weeks in the cupboard? Nothing. You just charge them, and here we go. And that last image is something I really love, how they designed that robot and the charging cycle. And look at this. Isn't this wonderful? They suck off the power. You plug them in, they close their eyes, they load. And that's the future of technology. It's not us becoming more technological. No, the point is reached where technology is becoming more human, and that's a good thing. So if you want to go digital with a potato, with your business, with whatever you do, it's really simple. You just need to do it. And I wish you lots of success with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Omar, for that very broad overview of opportunities in digital. If I may just raise a quick question with you.
Yeah, please.
Maybe a challenge, let's say, to make it a bit interesting. You mentioned that digitalization can create new markets, right? By responding to problems. I think you said that people didn't even know they had, right?
Yeah.
And when you think about a potato, you would say that's actually responding to a problem that people definitely know they have, right? They might be hungry, or they might just want to have a nice dish of some sort, so a sort of a pleasure problem. I see in the audience that people tend to prefer their potatoes baked as number 1 option, or roasted as number 2, or fried as number 3. But wouldn't you say that a digital and digitalization also then contributes to maybe placing value? And you mentioned a lot about the concept of value, but wouldn't you say it's contributing to placing value on the wrong things or in the wrong place when you consider that the potato is really providing a clear benefit to people who know they have a problem, whereas digitalization might create markets in areas that people don't actually realize they have a problem?
I think that's a real philosophical question. Yeah. So what do we do about with the tools we got? Luckily, at least in Europe, we seem to have moved beyond the basic problem of is everybody fed? Yeah. So now we are fed. Yeah. We're not hungry anymore, most of us, luckily. So the next question is, what is it that I eat? And what is it that I want to eat? And where do I get it? And I think this is, to me, a part of civilization. Yeah. The first thing is don't die of hunger. But as soon as that is satisfied, we go to improve on that. And the internet helps. If that's online recipes, how do I do the most tasty dish for my let's say vegan diet, yeah, do new things. I think that is value. And there are even some interesting things like IBM, the Watson, that's an AI based there, who wrote an own cookbook, which, who really analyzed what things work together well and made some really new suggestions there. So yes, I think it's not the most basic problem, but it can help us. And again, if we go to the most basic things, yeah, we can say we can use drones to check our soil, to see about humidity, about growth and other factors. We can be more efficient, which means we need less resources to feed our people. And that's a very basic thing, which I think is very, very valuable.
And on that, maybe a second question as well, in terms of, we talk a little bit about the digital divide, so the access to digital tools and education. And I think, again, to try and link it also a bit to agriculture, you might be growing potatoes in very different conditions around the world.
Yes.
I think that digital tools can be applied in any kind of condition, or are there certain, let's say, socioeconomic conditions where it might be more difficult to take these tools up, even though they would provide great benefits potentially?
My impression is that digital can help us a lot, especially in difficult conditions, because our tool of choice is the mobile phone, which you can charge by a really small solar panel. Yeah, so we get, as long as we get internet access, we can do a real lot with that. We can have plant recognition. You can say what kind of weeds are growing there, and the thing helps me. It reminds me that online banking in Africa, yeah, which were developing countries, they never had a banking system, so everything moved by payment by phone. That was a very smart thing to do. You even had jobs distributed by phone because there was no infrastructure. So if I compare what I need to do to have a phone and some information to make me smarter and more connected, that's the least expensive option, yeah, compared to building a large factory, building cool houses, whatever you need there. Now that's difficult. So I think digital makes it small, easy, and accessible. So yes, I think digital makes it easier to improve things than the usual way, mostly.
Okay, thank you very much, Omar. Would you have then maybe just a final word for the audience attending here? Maybe your last word for the audience to think about the potential of digital in the potato sector.
Yes, I think if you want to transform anything, I would see, well, what's the chain from the soil to the plate? Yeah, where's your position in that chain? And what can I do to improve it? Where would I like to have my life a bit better? And then do something silly and inexpensive just to get a feel. Because that's the very first step. Do that step and learn how to move. From that on, yeah, you're on your own, but you can move that.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you very much, Omar, for having been with us with this Congress today. It's an inspirational speech, maybe something a little bit different to what the Potato Assembly would usually hear. So I hope that it inspired them too. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
And take care. In this
Okay.
world. Okay, so now that we're all fired up and digital and experts on digital tools, digital technologies, and the potential of digital, I have the pleasure of introducing our panelists who will be building the bridge between digital and agriculture and the agri-food chain and the potato sector. So I am joined by Felipe Medina. He is Secretary General of ACEDAS, that is the Spanish Retailers Association, and by Lilian Escalon, who is Director at HZPC Europe, a member of Europatat. And we will be joined, I hope, by Anthony Atlas, who is Head of Product and Growth at Climate AI. He is in fact joining from the West Coast of the United States, so it's something like 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. He was with us a while back, then he disconnected. So let's hope that he's able to join us back. Otherwise, I'm sure we have plenty to say in any case with Felipe and with Lilian. To kick off this debate, I asked all panelists to think about an image that characterizes for them that bridge between digitalization and the potato sector or the agri-food chain more generally. And so I will be now projecting those images and asking the panelists to comment on them as to why they chose them and what those images represent for them. So if we can launch image number 1. So who is responsible for this one?
Yeah, I'm guilty. Good morning, everyone. So yes, I've started with this picture, and that picture is there's a quote from Mr. Edwards Deming, which is, "In God we trust, and all the others must bring data." And I think that this is a very counterintuitive way to enter into the topic, but which is also a very relevant way to go into the topic of digitalization, because looking back at this quote from 1950, it also really puts in a very good place the challenges that we are facing. And just building on what Omer said, mentioning the example of the Amazon Echo or the Apple HomePod. Of course, they want to be part of our life, but they also really want to know, what do we do? What do we want to know? What do we want to search for? What are the points of interest? And all this is translated into data that can help them to create new value propositions, basically, and have a certain prediction on our goals, dreams, and needs. So the way is, in this way, I would like to say that this quote helps to set up the challenges for potatoes. Say, how can we really build data out of potatoes? How can we use them? And how can we use them in a way that we together create value for ourselves, for other companies, for our potato sector, but also for, and most importantly, for our customers.
Yeah, thanks, Lilian. It's quite a nice quote, especially when thinking about how much God was important to grow food. You know, he would be implored for rain or what have you. So I think it's a really nice bridge between the two worlds, let's say. Thank you, Lilian. That means that we can now launch our second image. And I suppose that might be Felipe's.
Yes, that's mine. Yeah. Well, it is written in Spanish. Sorry for that. It says that, well, it's a message that I found in a track that it says that while apples or potatoes, in this case, cannot be sent by email, we will still continue sharing the road. So it's a kind of message just to say, well, that of course we recognize as retailers and wholesalers that digital transformation is a tsunami that is here, and it is changing our way of life, our way to have relations, our way to eat, but it has also limits. It has also limits, and by the moment, well, as retailers, we are doing our best to satisfy the consumers' demands, which are becoming more and more digital. But this digitalization transformation will not, from our point of view, will not eliminate the stores, which is a key point to interact with consumers. Probably digitalization will improve so much the consumers' experience in our shop, but will not kill them. That's the short message that we would like to send for the beginning.
Yeah, as long as a potato doesn't become some sort of artificial intelligence, it will remain a material, physical product that needs to be transported. And it's true that when we think about the primary sector, the agricultural sector, it's not necessarily that we think of digitalization and technology in the first step, but that's not really a true characterization of the sector. It's not just some sort of ancient, non-technological sector. So. Maybe to Lilian first. Can you say a few words about already where are we at today, even just more specifically in terms of potato breeding, let's say, and the use of digital tools? What's already available? What are you using on a regular basis and have been using maybe already for a long time?
Yeah, you know, if you really talk about breeding is really high tech. So there are many different technological developments, and data is definitely part of that, where we are really on the forefront of the technological developments. So you can think one of the very basic thing that we are now using routinely is everything which is around the characterization of the potatoes. So everything which is about the scoring of the varieties, their cooking use, their flesh color, the way they cook, their cooking type, the way they disintegrate, the way they stay after cooking. Everything is now completely, fully digitalized in a way that it is automated. It is scored through digital imaging, and at that basis, this is feeding databases which are used for variety selection. When we have this kind of automatic characterization, which we call phenotyping, then from there it's also used to predict the crossings that would most likely deliver the best outcome. And on that basis, also there's many different layers of statistical means, artificial intelligence even, so which are used to be able to produce the best prediction of potential success. So there are many different ways and many different levels of digitalization, many different ways to define them. But it's true that in the field of research, this is absolutely not the future. This is absolutely present.
Yes, already indeed highly technological.
Absolutely, yes.
I believe that Anthony is with us. Anthony, do you confirm? Are you there?
I am back. I had a near heart attack. My house lost internet entirely. I think 3 minutes before the start here. So if I wasn't awake before, I definitely am now. I had to restart the modem, the router, everything. But I am here. Okay, fantastic. So maybe if we can just give you then the floor, because I asked every panelist to come up with an image that represents this link between digital and agri-food potatoes. So if we can project Anthony's image and allow Anthony to maybe give a comment. Yeah, thank you. So I love this. I found this image. I think it's so ridiculous, which is why learning artificial intelligence. We tend to extrapolate to here to think about robots doing things and like sort of this absurd photo of a robot touching, a crop. On my side, when we do actually like applications of artificial intelligence, it's helping people realize that there's no such thing as the AI. Like there's one big AI that can solve all the problems, and in fact, really what this is, it's hundreds of models. Each one are applicable, very specific types of problems, require careful setup. But you sort of hear things like Google's AI can do X, which I think feeds into this illusion that there's sort of a single computer mind out there that can do many different tasks. And this image, for me, does the same thing. And so I think, that was why I thought it was interesting to bring up and to talk about what is a realistic future of artificial intelligence and digitization, in the potato industry actually look like. And then that was what was on my mind.
Yeah, and Lilian was already mentioning that this is really part of the business in many ways already, and has already been for a while. If I go then to Felipe, in terms of the distribution, then I imagine there are many areas where you're already using the digital tools and other technological devices.
Yes, that's right. I think all our companies are, by the moment, trying to experience with many of these technologies, trying to understand how to apply better these technologies in order to serve better their consumers every day. I think the sum of some of them will be a key point in the near future. And of course, we are trying to know better, with using these new technologies, know better what consumers want, what consumers need, what consumers are going to demand in the near future, because it's a key factor to compete for these companies. New technologies are also being used to connect these demands the consumer needs with the production and the rest of the operators of the food chain, which is crucial. We must collaborate all together to give the consumer what they want and not try to convince the consumer that our product is the best one. Of course, and the marketing is there and it can be used for that, but it's very, very important to use technologies to connect demands of the consumers and production systems. Well, these new technologies are changing many matters in our business, especially marketing issues, supply chain matters, also the information, how it is written, how it is given for consumers, and well, this is something that is changing every day, and that we'll see in the near future that they will change so much during every day. We will see it at the stores and also in the online channel.
Yeah, because being consumer facing, I suppose, will then feeding back a lot of the information that you're getting into your supply chain to adapt, adjust, make certain types of products evolve. Be interested to hear a little bit more about that in a minute. Anthony, if I can go back to you, I raised the question a little bit to Omar already in terms of the digital divide, and maybe in agriculture, it's a very big one. How do you see some of these digital tools applying in different contexts around the world? I mean, you're working with very technological devices, let's say. Do you see that applying naturally across the world in different contexts in a uniform manner, or quite the contrary?
Well, like we work with a lot of companies that operate internationally. So the multinationals, they have a footprint in many different places. And so even I think within an organization, you see a lot of diversity across the areas that they run their business. And so they're already, I feel like it's a lot of those companies that are sort of at the forefront and are pushing the envelope on what's possible, because they figure things out in certain geographies, maybe where they have a lot more sophistication, but then they're trying to also bring it into other areas and adapt it for other regions that may have, not nearly the same infrastructure, right? And so it's definitely uneven, but I think it's those large players and the people who are sort of savvy that are pushing new regions and sort of at those forefronts that are causing it to catch up. And because the decision making is there back at sort of the central headquarters, you sometimes are surprised by what can get applied in new areas. But of course, connectivity, just getting data out of certain regions is always going to be a limitation. So there's some very realistic challenges there, I think, to doing this all over the world.
We'll get back to some of the challenges on that. Lilian, you were talking about there's already a lot of technological developments inside a breeding company. Can you maybe just give us a sense of whether there's some sort of chronology in the stages of development of a company to get more and more digital, and especially in the potato sector?
Yeah, well, in HSBC we have two sides. One is really what I was mentioning earlier, is the aspect of research, and there they are really at the forefront of by essence of the newest technologies. But we are also a commercial company. We have to get produced to deliver seed potatoes everywhere in the world, and you can also see that in the different parts of the organization, the speed of implementation of digital solutions. First, the nature of them is different, but also the speed can be very different. So if you would talk about chronology, on our side, it definitely started on the research side. We also have collected data, and the data scientists, everything together so that they could make further progress. Now, in our organization, we are simply at the stage where we use digital tools, but really to be able to really make it to the next step, going further into customer understanding, collecting data, customer input, and being able to analyze that in a way that it would create new value proposition. This is the moment, but also I would even say the struggle that we are into at this very this period.
Although I saw the potato days, I believe that was an impressive marketing initiative from HSBC, I thought, online. So there are changes. There are changes.
They are absolutely.
Felipe, would you say that this sector, agricultural sector, has some intrinsic challenges that would make it a problem to continue with a greater uptake of digital technologies?
Yes, well, I think as you probably know, retailers are innovating, adapting, and experiencing with these new technologies to explore new products, new services, new business models to serve consumers better. And the main barrier that they are finding today is about the skills. I think European Union employment and skill support measures need to be redesigned, because to cope with the changing that the COVID-19 crisis have provoked. So the acceleration of all these processes been quite high, and also it's important to redesign the skills measures and how to support, to prepare people to be workers of our companies in the near future because of this digital transformation.
So would you say that today there's a shortage of skills in terms of the competences necessary to use digital tools, or to rather drive the transformation?
I think it's more about competence of the future workers that our companies are going to need. That's a key point to push together to develop and to take advantage of this digital transformation in our companies.
Okay, so it wouldn't even just be a question of learning, like lifelong learning and training. It could even be acquiring and bringing new skills into the business more generally.
Exactly, that's the way.
Yeah. Anthony, maybe a comment on that, because would you also be providing some sort of training with the tools that you're using, so that the companies you're working with can make the full benefit out of them?
Yeah, I think what a lot of digital companies have realized is that in order to actually succeed at doing the job and really bringing value into the organizations that you're working with, to begin with, a lot of that service has to start on our side, right? We don't want to assume that every company has the same level of competency and sophistication, maybe, with respect to some of these tools, especially when you're bringing really new ones in. And so service actually becomes a really important component of our business. Having a customer success team that really works with the customers, helps them understand and interpret results, understand how to implement them, sort of advise on, hey, what's our strategy going to be with respect to, the analytics and climate and et cetera. And so we found that that's actually an opportunity for a consultative sort of relationship that is aiding us in sort of laying a foundation for future growth within the companies. But of course, at the same time, it helps when on the other side, someone sitting there is already quite familiar with the things that we're dealing with and can really be a great point person to help us drive. So I think a lot of it is about the success you're going to have driving the results and sort of penetrating all of the parts of the organization, and how fast you go from one business unit to another. That is really about fundamentally how much buy-in you've already got on the other side and how much education I think is already there.
Okay, and maybe also a comment then from Lilian, this question of skills and competences. Is it a question of lifelong learning, acquiring new skills? What would those new skills be?
Yeah, I was mentioning data scientists, so that's definitely one of the things which is about acquiring competence. You really need to have, well, Omer also mentioned listening to your kids. So digital natives, newer generations, newer sets of competencies, really departments that you would never think of in a potato company before. There's also an aspect of what technological maturity. And I think that it's not only the tool itself, because if you look into the total potato value chain, every player now has really a lot of data. So we were talking about the growers. Really, it's amazing the number of tools, data, information that they got from every single plot, every single field, at every single moment of operation. Then, well, we do have a lot of data. Our customers, they can be the processors, they can be the packers. They do also have a lot of data about their own operation. And then you go to the restaurants, to the retailers, and they also have a lot of data about what their customer wants, what the customer buy? What about the repeat of purchase? But these are all data which are not interconnected, basically. And if you really want to be able to extract the best out of it and really create new value proposition, and then you need also not only to have individually, as it was also mentioned previously, to have the competence internally to do something with the data, but also to have to share a common sense of processes, common sets of language, common sets of also of tools, so that we can interconnect everything and then create a new variety in our case that would completely meet the customer demand, not only for today, but also for tomorrow and for the years to come. So this is individual skills, but these are also organization skills. And I would even say this is branch maturity aspects which have to be reached and which are making the things, interesting.
You mentioned attracting, the kids, the digital natives. Would they have the potato sector, but maybe more broadly the agri-food sector, in the front of their mind, especially people really driving the digital technology revolution? And also, are they not more urban than rural? So wouldn't the fact that they would need to maybe go rural, could that be a barrier to attract the top profiles?
Yeah, you could say so. On the other hand, we should not also underestimate two very important trends within society. First is for the newer generation, everything is digital. So if you would say for ourselves, it might seem strange to talk about digital potato. For the newer generation, that's obvious that whatever type of things, and potatoes as well, might be digital or must be digital in some ways. So that's the first thing. The second thing is also we see a very important trend within the workforce that they also want to, the part of the population also want to work for a company with a meaning. And basically, if you really talk about data scientists, they can develop algorithm about everything. They can develop algorithm about how to optimize new insurance contracts or stock exchange products. But in a way, to also work in food sector, to really work in companies which are providing food everywhere in the world, to work in companies which have also a very sustainable approach, to try to also reduce the use of chemical, having more healthy food closer to you. This is also something which has a very important sense of meaning. So therefore, for a certain set of talents, to say, I want to work on new data, new technology, but I can do that in an industry which has a true meaning, that's also very important. So that's also a very strong aspect of attractivity for our branch and our company.
It comes back a little bit to the notion of value that I mentioned before, and maybe data scientists could have fun to work with nature, because it defies mathematics as opposed to just algorithms, which are mathematics. Yeah. Felipe, a comment on the regulatory aspect and maybe how it's also driving digitalization, and maybe in your case, a specific comment on traceability and some of the requirements on traceability in the chain, and how that forces you to connect up with up to the value chain, even up until HSBC, I would believe, in many aspects.
Yes, well, I think as everybody knows, our consumers are demanding us more and more information, and our responsibility as agri-food sector is to give the most important or more relevant information to them, of course, based on science, which is very, very important. We have to look at the way to explain consumers where is the product from, how is it produced, what ingredient does it has. It doesn't apply to a potato, of course, because it has just one ingredient. But we have to do it in a way to allow him to understand what we are telling him, but also based on science, trying to help him to take the best decision in terms of food and diets. So for that, in that process, all technologies can help, and you have mentioned the traceability needs. So in this way, in this matter, I think new technologies can also help us so much, and we will see very soon the effects of this kind of technologies applied to better information given to consumers.
Yeah, because the regulatory pressure to ensure traceability, to know, especially, I don't know, when there's an outbreak of pest or whatever, to be able to identify the specific lot where the product came from, I think all that puts a lot of pressure on the whole chain.
Yeah, I think this is a choice that Europe has decided. We have decided that our place in the world is to differentiate our products and to have the most high safety measures or safety security for consumers. So I think this is something that all of us have to have very, very clear and take into account in order to take the most important decision, because it is our way to compete in the world market, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. If I go then to Anthony, because you're working across many crops, and you're applying these digital tools. Can you comment more specifically on the potato sector and where you see specific challenges for the potato sector in developing these digital technologies? Because it is a bit of a specific crop in the family of all crops. It behaves in a very specific manner. So maybe there are some challenges that you've identified that are very different to the other crops.
Yeah, thank you. So it's yeah, as you mentioned, I mean, we work with input companies, a lot of seed companies, also processors, packers, financial institutions. So there's a broad range of sort of visibility that we have. Specifically with potatoes, I mean, they're pretty interesting. Like if you think we've got we have a large packer we work with for the fresh produce, the berry category, right? And they're harvesting, they're making every week they're getting forecasts upcoming of the yield, how the weather and climate is impacting it, informs their pricing. Very, very dynamic, right? Whereas with the potato, you have a much longer cycle, obviously, right? The planning, even going back to the timing cycles are just very different for the potato. I mean, I'm thinking back to warming up the seed to go in the ground, but that seed potato, had to be grown in that area and had to be grown the season before. And so the technical nature of the supply chain to actually do and produce potatoes is non-trivial by any respect. And so it means that there's not the same very easy flexibility to just kind of turn on things, make a different decision based on the result of some other piece of information or insight that came in from the data. And so the way that you integrate technical solutions, I think, is a bit different with it. But at the same time, there's a lot of upside. I mean, potatoes there's timing, quality, volumes. There's so many things. You're constantly playing a game with timing here and trying to also communicate to your customers on the delivery and adjust plantings, especially if it's table potatoes, right? And so there's a lot of opportunity in there as well, but it's also inherent with a lot of challenges just specific to that supply chain and sort of how resilient it is to to some of these modifications.
Okay, is that something you recognize, Lilian, in Anthony's assessment?
Yeah, absolutely. I was really smiling when Anthony was speaking, because indeed, in the potato world, we love to think that we are unique and that our crop is unique. And when it's not only coming from us, but from other persons to say it, then it's your words are our blessing to us. Thanks.
Okay, and when you're considering the final product on the shelf, Felipe, do you see influence coming from the brands that you're displaying in retail to develop ever more digitalization up and down the chain, or would you say it's something being driven by consumers mostly, or by yourselves as retailers? Where would you see who would be the influencers in this supply chain?
Well, I think of course consumers will have. We have some companies that call their consumer their bosses, because all of us depend on the consumers. If consumers don't want to buy our products, all producers, transport, retailers, all the operators of the food chain cannot continue alive. So of course they have the key, and we will all have to do what they want, what they need, what they ask us to do in this process.
Okay, so it's so you would say it's the consumer who influences all of this. Do you agree, Anthony?
Yeah, I mean the consumer is certainly king in many ways. I mean, if you think about the trends of increasingly people want more. They want more option. There's specificity to people want certain types of potatoes for certain types of goals. It could even be sort of lifestyle habits, things like that. So if you think about that, the way that the supply chain is getting integrated and set up in order to be able to satisfy all of those, I think that is a major driver. I think that's a major component. I mean, I think there are a number of others probably as well. But I do think at the end of it, that's what's on people's mind, and that's what the food and beverage company is thinking about. That then influences what their suppliers are going to do, and we sort of see it, because we work sort of up and down that value chain. So I do think at the end of the day, they're saying, hey, we want to differentiate the product in the market and appeal to people and have the right nutrition and the flavor and everything, and all of that comes down to being able to manage that crop and supply chain really well, and which requires really good digital tools, I think, to do it at sort of the cutting edge.
Do you also work on the data being transferred back from the market into the supply chain?
We'll look at some of the information when it comes to pricing and contracting. When you think about people who are trying to make decisions, whatever the sort of the core decision at the timeline that the company is trying to make internally, we'll use that data to inform models and things like that. We're not sort of being the data interface between different players, but the way that we tend to work with that is one company says, hey, I want my suppliers all using this tool. You guys should be using this now. I'll get more visibility. And so they'll kind of push us up, and then we'll be working with them. And there's then greater visibility on a dashboard of, all sorts of risks and challenges related to weather and climate and how they're impacting the business. But so does that answer your question?
Somewhat, yeah. It's just to understand how that data is fed back, because we've spoken about the digital tools at the start of the chain, but I think it's also interesting to understand how the information is flowing, and that's also mostly data these days. And by the way, for the audience, please raise your questions in the Slido. We still have another 10 minutes or so with the panelists, so if you feel like asking a question, I can do that on your behalf. Lilian, do you feel the pressure from the consumer, or would you say the pressure points are elsewhere in the chain?
No, we absolutely feel the pressure of the consumer because well, the tricky thing in our part of the chain is that we are developing and building the varieties that will be available in the market 15 years from now. It takes 10 years to develop a new variety and then 5 years to launch it. So in a way, we need to be extremely precise in understanding the customer demands of today, so that can be really based on data. But on the other hand, we have to transfer the data into knowledge and wisdom so that we can predict basically where the market will be in 15 years from now. So this is really something where we have to build up our own data set. So we are using some digital tools. But on the other hand, that's also one of the parts where we could benefit much from a heavier stream of data flow coming from retailers all down to the chain towards us, so that we can have a better prediction models. On the other hand, there are also the variety that we sell today, and really all the marketing aspects of this is the variety that we need to place in that market for this use, this purpose, this quality. These are all also elements which at the end are also consumer driven. So on the actual portfolio, we need to listen to the consumer so that we can maximize the commercial success. But if you really want to build up the value proposition of tomorrow, this is something where we definitely could benefit from a stronger integration of the chain.
That sounds like an invitation to Felipe to collaborate on this. Is this realistic, Felipe? Is this data that you have, that you work with, or is that also a challenge for the coming years on the retail side to have a better prediction capacity?
Yes, completely. I would say that this is going to be one of the key factors to compete in the near future. I know there are companies working so close together with companies like Lilian is representing today, to build or to design, we could say, the potato of the future, and the potato that they want to choose to compete in the next 10, 15 years to give the consumers the best potato that altogether decide to offer. So I think this is going to be crucial, and food chains are going to become more vertical. I would say the competition probably will turn to complete food chains competing with other complete food chains, even than the competition that we have today between operators applying or operating in the same link of the food chain. This is a trend that is already there. I know there are many companies working on that, and of course this will be something crucial if we explain and communicate very well to consumers, to let him understand what's behind this potato that he's buying in a concrete moment. No, I think this will be very, very important in the near future.
Okay, you almost lead me there naturally to this potato of the future. I mean, obviously, I cannot resist to ask that question to the other panelists, and I will get back to you as well, Felipe. What is that potato of the future? Anthony, what would be your prediction for the potato of the future?
Well, I think we're already working with some groups on this, and I hope many more. But when you think about looking at the future, and you think, obviously, we focus and concern ourselves a lot with the climate challenges and the volatility and the environments that are going to be present. And so you think about having potatoes that are really ideally suited to the conditions that they're going to be grown in order to achieve the spec and the outcome that you want from that potato, right? Because these conditions are changing a lot, and so a lot of the work that we do looks at that strategic timeline of 10 plus years out, let's say. How is the market changing? The suitability for growing certain varieties. What does that mean for the new targets in the breeding programs? And then also, if we've got a new variety, things like that. Working with the seed company, where can we, take that all around the world? Possibly have a blockbuster that also is going to be really well suited. So I think a lot about that adaptation to the needs of the climate of the future and the restrictions that are going to be put on, up and down the supply chain, from the inputs that are allowed. The water usage, nitrogen, fertility. Another thing, we see a lot of companies looking at the overall kind of carbon footprint of their entire rotation of crops. So the potatoes come off 1 year out of 3, 4, 5, kind of depending on where you are. But looking at that as actually a full rotation and what is the impact that you're making. And so I think those are some of the things that we see. I would hope to see more sort of dynamic pricing and an ability to really kind of target specific desires, and sort of I think there are a number of interesting marketing aspects that could happen if the potato becomes a little bit more like the berry over some amount of time, just as far as that. But we'll see. Maybe that could happen, maybe not. There's probably others who know even better than I.
Okay, thank you very much, Anthony. That was a comprehensive overview of what the potato of the future could be. Lilian, we spoke a lot about the consumer. I also have, in addition to what is the potato of the future, but what other uses could be made of the potato in the future? Could you also try and address that one?
Yeah, first to answer the question of other usage. One of the things you see that the aspect of the consciousness of food. So you say really, we are now in a world, and specifically in the developed part of the world, where there's plenty of offers. So basically, for every type of food you would like to get, but also different type of nutrition you would like to get, then there are plenty of offer. And the question is, where can potato be? So you can think about potatoes with other elements. You can think about potatoes with other types of fibers, other types of vitamins, the potatoes which are good for your body, potatoes with different ratios of proteins, potato which could be used to replace meat. So these are all different types of usage that could be developed. That's a bit further away from the aspect of digitalization. So therefore, if I would like to make the connection with your question and the potato of the future, for me, the potato of the future, again, in this world of hyper choice, would be first a potato that would be consumed, and a potato that would be consumed would be a potato that would completely meet the customer needs in this world of hyper choice. So I'm not sure if the potato of the future would be really a blockbuster, meaning the same potato everywhere in the world. I would even think that would be much more closer to your target groups, to your community, to the part of examples were given on Instagram, part of the community that you are part of, and that you can also share, and which is a potato that resonates with your own personality. And for sure, next to that, being a potato which is consumed, there's really all the aspect of sustainability. So meaning a potatoes with less residues, more traceability, less chemicals, completely carbon neutral, so that it also feels good for yourself, for your body, but also for society, basically.
Okay, yeah, thank you. It's true that we moved a little bit away from digitalization, but I think it's on this predictive data that we have a link to understand the future. And at the same time, digital tools will only be serving the potato. They won't be replacing the potato. So I think it's important to understand the uses. Nevertheless, I'm asking also to the audience, what comes to their mind when they think of the potato of the future. So we'll also get some hopefully interesting insights there. And as we need to wrap up, sadly, I would like to ask each of you then for a 45-second conclusion, where I would like to get a sense from you of what are the major digital transitions that will be taking place within the potato sector, let's say in the next 5 to 10 years. So the 3 key areas that are going to be transformed according to you in terms of digital technologies and digital uptake. Can I start with you first, Felipe, for a 45-second conclusion?
Yes, I would talk about retail and the potato at the stores. I think the technology will allow in the near future more specialized potato for consumers, as Lilian was highlighting before. Easy to cook, easy to eat, easy to combine with more and more information to consumers about how to apply, how to use it, depending on the variety and the kind of potato that he's buying. And also, you have said it before, I imagine this potato and the technology applying on this, of course, with no packaging or probably more and more sustainable packaging presented to consumers.
Okay, thank you very much, Felipe, for having taken part in this panel and sharing the retailers' insights on this. Thank you, Felipe.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks.
Anthony, over to you. 45 seconds. The 3 major digital transitions that you're expecting.
Yeah, I mean, I think the segment we probably get the most exposure to is really with the processor and packer, and I see that there's definitely a big digital transformation happening there in the way that they work with their suppliers, the producers, and managing and producing the crop to a certain spec, for the target customer that they have, that they're actually selling that out to. So I see a lot of technology coming in there as far as the way that they do all of their sort of monitoring, the management, but especially getting into a more predictive component. I think the predictive capabilities as far as the way that the processor works with their suppliers and makes decisions and going forward, and how they're going to fulfill and meet certain obligations that they have, and what they're hoping to do, and where they put different products and things like that. So I think there's a lot happening there in that link with their suppliers, and then back down to the customers at the other side.
Thank you very much, Anthony, and really a special thanks to you for having woken up in the middle of the night, and I wish you a good night.
Yeah,
thanks very much for
Appreciate
having
very much. Great to join you.
Thank you so much. And which leaves me now to go to Lilian for a 45-second top 3 digital transitions conclusion.
So the top 3 digital transformation that I would see for potatoes, the first part is really on the primary process, so really on the area of production. Now, as I described earlier, all the farms, they have many different digital tools which collect a lot of data. But then now we are really coming at the moment where this data can be used into better production, basically more stable, more consistent, more sustainable. The second thing is really about understanding better the consumer and really having the ability to do more with consumer data, so that we can really define what will be the way to serve them better in this world of RP choice with potatoes. And the third challenge is really for us as total potato chain, is really how can we be together able to interconnect the consumer data, the growers data, and our data, so that we can definitely bring a higher perceived value with our product base.
Thank you so much, Lilian. So we'll have much more knowledge in the next 10 years, hopefully, and maybe we'll be able to tap into the 4 million hashtaggers of potato on Instagram. Okay, thank you so much, Lilian, for having shared your insights from the breeder's perspective, and for the panel. Thanks a lot. And so we now move to the next part of our program, where I am joined by Liam Glennon, who is the chairperson of the local organizing committee for the World Potato Congress. And Liam will be taking us to Ireland, I believe, Liam.
Yes, good afternoon, Jean-Paul. It's a pleasure to be with you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I must say I'm really enjoying the Congress so far. So far from the first presentation, I've been reminded that I must change my socks. I must change my phone to an ice stone, but most importantly, I must change my mindset. And from the last presentation of panelists, the potato of the future clearly is one that feels good for me, my health, and the health of the planet. And I think that was nicely encapsulated. So I'm going to talk about 2 potato congresses that are being held in Ireland next year. One, of course, is the Europatat Congress, and the other one is the 11th World Potato Congress. So perhaps a good place to start is to ask the question, why Ireland? What qualifications have we for hosting potato congresses? And what are our connections with the potato? So perhaps a little history is in order. It's not absolutely clear how the potato arrived in Ireland in the first place. It's a bit of a mystery. There are basically 2 theories. Some people say it was brought by the Spanish, that they came on shore after a Spanish armada ran into a problem, weather problem in the southwest of Ireland, and they came on board as part of a shipwreck. They came on shore, rather, as part of a shipwreck. And the more favourite theory is that they were introduced into Ireland by Sir Walter Raleigh around the year 1600. And this is the favoured theory because around that time there is written evidence that they were grown on his estate in County Cork in the south of Ireland. What is not in dispute is that the Irish were the first Europeans to embrace the potato as a staple food. And this is borne out by the figures. If we go back to 1780, the population of Ireland was 4 million. And just 60 years later, the population had doubled to over 8 million, 8.15. The area of potatoes in Ireland around the time was 200,000 hectares. And to give you some context, the area of potatoes being grown in Ireland today is 9,000 hectares. So you can see what was happening, and you can see what was building up. We had a rapid increase in population, a rapid increase in the area of potatoes, and with the whole nation virtually dependent on this single crop. And on top of all of that, this single crop had never been exposed before to any serious pest or disease. And of course, we all know, I think everybody who went to school knows that what's known as the Great Irish Famine occurred from 1845 to 1852. the single most important event in Irish history, and precise figures are not absolutely available, but the general agreement is that about 1 million died and 1 million emigrated, and within 20 years, a further 2 million had emigrated. So, of course, this had a devastating effect on social history of Ireland, and in effect, in a very short period of time, the population of the country was halved. So just a small graph here shows where people emigrated to, because the devastating effect of the famine was so great. I mean, just the Irish economy just was non-existent after that, virtually. So people had to, find employment and improve their livelihood elsewhere. And you can see the huge spike in immigration there, beginning in around the 1840s, mid-1840s, 1850s, and the following decades. Huge spike in immigration, and literally taking people to mostly the US, Australia, Canada, and so on. The most favored location for emigrants to go following the famine was to the USA, of course, and many of them went through Ellis Island. In the years between 1892 and I think 1954, something like 12 million immigrants were processed in Ellis Island, and the very first immigrant through Ellis Island is a young lady from County Cork. Following the famine, her predecessors had gone to the US, and she was following over her parents, but she wasn't untypical of immigrants at the time. She was 17 years of age. She had 2 brothers, Anthony and Philip, and they arrived there on the 1st of January 1892. And the story is that she was actually, when the gangplank was lowered, she was second in the queue, and a German gentleman was first to disembark, but he very gallantly stepped back and he said, "Ladies first," and he allowed the young lady to step into history. So she eventually settled on the Lower East Side and did marry a young German man son of German immigrants, and the two went on to produce a family which did very, very well. To date, and including the present incumbent, there have been 46 presidents of the United States. 23 of those have had Irish ancestry. And by an amazing coincidence, a lot of them claim this and emphasize this Irish ancestry just coming up to election time. Indeed, some of them actually turn up in Ireland a few months before an election and are seen to visit the birthplace of their forefathers. The present incumbent, Joe Biden, claims Irish ancestry on the paternal side and on the maternal side. And by a bit of a coincidence, he's just on the other side of the Irish Sea today, of course, in Cornwall. But the main point about the famine and its effects is, while obviously having a huge impact on the social history of Ireland, it had a huge impact on the social history of other countries as well. For example, in the US today, there's at least 35 million of Irish ancestry, Canada 15, the UK 10% of the population is 6 million, and by any stretch of the imagination, a sizable chunk of population. Liverpool, indeed, across 60 miles distance from Dublin, often called the second capital city of Ireland, because it's so close to Dublin. There is that stretch of water between us, the Irish Sea. Now, you probably couldn't pick a more quintessential English band than the Beatles. And you know, they had, of course, the Liverpool sound, the Mersey sound, and as I say, probably couldn't be more British. But 3 of them have claimed Irish ancestry, and again, as a result of the famine, a lot of people emigrated to the UK, and indeed a lot of them on their way to the US had to go through Liverpool. Some of them actually didn't get any farther than Liverpool, so you know, there's a huge connection between Liverpool and the and Ireland and Dublin, basically brought about because of the potato and the emigration following the famine. So look, that's leaving the history behind us and moving on to today. What is the World Potato Congress all about? We might ask ourselves. Well, as far as the local organising committee is concerned, it's all about this. And it's, for the local organising committee and those involved in the next World Potato Congress, it's all about taking the opportunity of a global platform and getting our product onto that place. Now you'll note there's a dip or a recess in that place, and that's an Irish plate, and it means that you just have more room for the potatoes to fit there, you know. So as I say, we see the World Potato Congress as an opportunity to get our product onto that plate, whether it's fresh table potatoes, whether it's French frozen fries, or Belgian fries, or US fries, or whatever. We see it as an opportunity to get the potato and the potato products onto that plate, crisps there as well, and indeed some other processed potato products. Look at the product we're dealing with. What other product that you know of has so many positive nutritional benefits? I mean, we can barely fit them on the one slide. High in vitamin C, sodium free, high in fiber, high in potassium, high in vitamin B6, and so on and so on. And on top of all of that, they're environmentally friendly. The potato produces more food for using less water and less area than most other crops. So it's terrific product to have. And again, on at the World Potato Congress, we'll be using the event because there will be massive media focus. We'll be using the event to put out the message, to promote and broadcast all the many nutritional benefits of the potato. Not only will we be doing that, we'll be taking the opportunity to associate. I mean, you could ask the question, who are the most healthiest group among the general population? And many people would say it's athletes. We would have Professor Catherine Beals from the University of Utah, Clinical Nutrition Department, and she will emphasize the connection between improved athletic performance and potato consumption. So we're not just saying potatoes are good for you. They support athletic performance, and we'll have a qualified nutritionist, a professor of nutrition to broadcast the message. The program itself, the WPC program, there's some of our speakers lined up, but those of you who may have been to other World Potato Congresses before, we're putting a slightly different emphasis on this. As far as we're concerned, the main emphasis will be on business. Where is the food business going? Where's the potato business going? What's happening in the markets? Where's the growth? Where's the opportunities? In particular, we'll be focusing in on consumer trends. What's the consumer after now? How concerned is she about health and nutrition, the planet and the environment, and so on? And we'll be investigating all these through the speakers that we have lined up. But I want to make the point that it's largely going to be a business Congress. Certainly, you can't separate science entirely from the potato. The two are intrinsically linked. But in terms of the plenary presentations, we'll certainly be focused on the market and the business opportunities there for the potato ahead. Post-pandemic values. I mean, certain things clearly are more important. They were important before the pandemic, but they're even more important now. That many people maybe who didn't have as high a profile now, people in the food business like truck drivers, delivery people in wholesale markets, drivers, and so on. All the people involved in logistics, obviously. All their profile very much raised, especially in the first lockdowns of the, and how essential they are, and how essential the food business. We know that at least in Ireland, fresh potatoes consumption rocketed, and of crisps as well. The food service on the other hand, really hit terrible problems. So, what can we learn from the pandemic, and what should we take, the positives we can take out of it and bring forward? Climate change has been important for the last 20, 30 years, always important, some people would say, but certainly more important than ever now. And we will have presentations on sustainability and climate change. And our co-host, if you like, the World Potato Congress Inc., very much interested in the whole area of development, and we will have sessions on development too. So,
maybe just to get to a close, Liam.
Sure, getting there, right? Okay, thank you. My goodness, time is flying when you're enjoying yourself. Well, I've already talked about development there. Okay, I've talked about the business program, the social program. When you think of it, when we meet next year, when Europatat meets next year, it will have been 3 years since Oslo. And, we've all missed networking and the opportunity to meet. I want to say we're putting as much work into the social program as well as the business program. We've got a golf tournament, and we will have a fun run, because we'll be making the point that potatoes are so healthy. We'll be organised a fun run with a photo shoot, and I think we'll be looking for inspiration from our leaders on this one. We look forward to seeing Gilles and Bertha and Romain, perhaps, all lining up at the starting point for a 2K fun run. I've already mentioned the Oslo Congress, and I've been to many Europatat Congresses down the years. And Europatat do very, very well. In particular, what they do is they create great opportunities for networking and mixing and meeting, and frankly, for doing business. So, where better place to catch up than Dublin? So, good things do come to those who wait. We don't just do good food, we do good drink, we do some good food as well. You'd be amazed at who visits our food markets. And here's a shot, I just couldn't resist it. You have a shot of a fishmonger, a queen, and an Irish Minister for External Affairs visiting a food market there. I think it was 2012 when she came over. But so just to make the point, we do a good drink and good food as well. I would like to say a brief thank you to our supporters and sponsors, without whom it wouldn't be possible to have this event. We rely very much on them, and I would just say, if anyone is interested in taking out exhibition space or sponsorship, I would get in early, because it is been getting booked up very, very quickly, and particularly in the last 3 to 4 weeks, the number of people coming on and booking spaces for next year is very, very strong. So get in and get early and book now. And if you want to book, we take euros, we take dollars, yuan, and at a push, mind you, we take sterling.
Quick final word.
That's it. I think we're now going to see a short video on Ireland. Thanks, Jean-Pierre. Thank you.
Well, thanks a lot, Liam. That was a great pitch for potatoes, a great pitch for Ireland. I thought that the potato arrived in Ireland when the snakes disappeared. That was my understanding of this mystery. But thanks a lot for that pitch. I hope many of you will be joining the World Potato Congress next year then in Dublin. Thank you, Liam.
Thank you. Thank you.
Which leaves me then to hand over the final word to Berta Redondo, the Secretary General of Europatat, and who's been actively organizing this event. And maybe just to leave you, Berta, with the final word from the audience on what comes to their mind when they think of the potato of the future. It's very much nutritious food that comes in the heart and center of that word cloud. So, Berta, for the final words, over to you.
Thank you, Jean-Paul, and thank you for helping us to organize and for moderating this great Congress that we have this morning. So I think after the inspiring presentation and discussions that we have had this morning, we can conclude that the potato cannot overlook digitalization, but that digitalization cannot overlook our sector. And as our president, Gilles Fontaine, said, digitalization is for now, it's not for the next years. So we've heard about some good examples on how digitalization can help, for example, to find the right variety and to develop, the best varieties regarding to nutrition. But also we've heard a lot about sustainability. That's also important, but also about collecting data information from consumers and on to how to use climate forecasting for that. We've also heard that there are some barriers for a quicker uptake for digital tools in our sector. For example, we've heard about the skill and digital education of future workers, but also about the management of data. So what to do with all the information that is collected from the whole sector. A lot of work still needs to be done, but the sector is already leading the change and demonstrating an excellent resilience to these challenging times. From Europatat, we will keep encouraging our members to, in this transition towards the digital world, we will of course keep collaborating with other European associations and also with the European institutions such as the Commission. And for this, I would like to thank all Europatat members for their constant dedication, and of course to also the Europatat board for their support and their trust. And with this, I would like to close the event, the AGM that we had this morning and the Congress now, not without thanking first the Europatat Congress sponsors for making this year digital event possible. We really, really appreciate your support. And finally, thank you very much to all of you who joined us in this journey and who joined us today, both in the AGM and at the Congress. We hope you enjoyed as much as we did. And as our last speaker said, Liam Glennon, see you in Dublin in June 2022. Thank you for your attendance today.